back, sports fans, to the Week 7 recap of the Lansing Area Blood Bowl League. My name is Rob, a.k.a. Lantern Noir.
My name is Chuck Norrisman.
We're here with some highlights and scores from around the league. We're going to start off with our predictions and have a quick chat of how we did. Yep. We're going to kick it off with the Golden Shamrocks versus the Sunfall Star Striders. Now, on this one, I remember picking the Star Striders for the win.
Yep. And I won this one.
Yeah.
I won this week, actually. First week I've actually won. Thank you.
Solid week. Yeah, in this game, I expected the Elven Union to just run around the Shamrocks, and that was not the case. Final score was 2-1 to the Shamrocks. Just an absolute...
He lost another player, didn't he, in that game?
I believe so.
Yep.
And Zolcat the Zote did not carry, knocked unconscious by the Flesh Golem.
We're watching you, Coach Eddie, and your Shamrocks as you climb the league in ranking.
Yeah, this game put the Golden Shamrocks ranked 7th in the league. So solid top 10 performance there. We also had talked about the Ragnarots and the Befoulers as an interesting game. Now, we made an error. We assumed going in that coming as a high-ranked team that the Shambly Undead were going to have some inducements to spend. It was actually flipped.
Yeah, it was actually flipped. The TV value is higher on the Nurgle side, which is very strange. I think that gave the Ragnarots just that extra oomph that they didn't need.
Well, the final score was 1-0 to the Ragnarots, so we were not talking a big blowout, but this was just an absolute back and forth with the ball, a lot of challenges with possession. Acorn made an appearance for this game, and unfortunately knocked themselves out.
Yep.
So that was definitely an interesting game. But again, 1-0 to the Ragnarots. Solid in second place now with that score.
You saw the heartbreaking double skull roll that happened on turn 16, where he double skulled out with no rerolls, and he was in position to roll for that touchdown at the very end of the game. Would have tied the game, but Nuffle said no.
Nuffle said no. Keeping with Nuffle, we also talked about the Goblin versus Goblin Fungus City Cheats versus the Gabbia Horror Picture Show. This game was exactly what we thought it would be, at a 2-2 tie.
Yep.
And again, just high-scoring thriller, a lot of back and forth. The tagline was, many goblins were harmed in the making of this picture.
Yep.
And so just a fascinating game of just seeing what kind of shenanigans can get on the pitch.
I was here that day live reporting on the field, and actually there was a point where both Doom Divers were in the KO box. Neither was casualty, both were KO'd.
And that changes the essence of the game. When the Goblins lose their Doom Diver, a lot changes.
Yeah, those little feet got to run.
Yeah, and they are not the fastest of teams. And then finally, we talked about, as we do most weeks, Green Legs and Wham, this time up against the Lustria Monarchs. And again, I thought we had the team that could solve the puzzle of that Orc defense.
I mean, I agreed. I totally went on record saying that I thought the Amazons might be the first team to score against Craig and the Green Legs and Wham, but no.
Final score was 3-0 to Green Legs and Wham, and it was just trashing the Amazon team.
Only 2 casualties, but they said that there was an entire team in the KO box just sitting there crying. So.
Well, and that's the thing too, is you can put the players off the pitch, but that's not a guaranteed long-term injury.
For sure.
And so even at 2 casualties, maybe there's a couple of serfs in there, but you still, if you're getting the KOs, even the stun gives you a full turn of just walking around like they don't exist.
That's right.
And that's all the Orc team needs to move that cage past those players and continue to grind down the field. So then again, final score 3-0 to Green Legs Wham, who stay undefeated, untied, with a perfect season so far.
Unmatched ferocity. It's crazy.
Unmatched ferocity. Should we start going around the league?
Yeah, let's go with the rest of us down here in the league.
All right, some other scores from around the league then. We have the Elves versus the Brambleshot Tooth Takers. There was a little bit of back and forth chaos on this game. The Tooth Takers executed 3 separate one-turn touchdowns via Doom Diver, which unfortunately was not enough in order to get the win, as the Elves found the end zone 5 times, taking the game 5-3. Then we move on to the Besters Jesters versus the Wahala War Boys. In what most commentators would call the largest waste of Blood Bowl time, 2-1 casualties to the Jesters, 0-0 final score.
Disappointing.
Master disaster as the Trolls failed to do anything most of the game. Absolutely just a letdown. Nobody be able to get the ball off the pitch. It goes to show that if you can't pick up the ball, you can't score.
Yep.
And then that then takes us to the Delphi Duck Dodgers versus the Onde Fwap. This was just another case of Amazonian explosiveness breaking through defenses. Final score in that game, 3-0 to the Dodgers, and a 3-0 advantage on the casualty count.
Wow, Amazon's bashing.
Indeed. Over to you, Chuck.
All right, so we got the Feldhoff Oaths versus the Dansville Dan Rats. Did you guys know a Troll Slayer can also knock out a Rat Ogre on turn 1? All the same to him. Score was 2-0 in favor of the Oaths and 3-2 also in favor of the Oaths, with rank 4 Andrew just showing that he's here to win and get in those playoffs, be a force to reckon with. We have the Purple Frogs versus the Durn's Defenders, Humans versus Dwarves, classic matchup. Score was 1-1 for a tie. The Frogs took an early lead, 1-0, but on turn 15, the Dwarven Defenders got back in there. However, Durn's Defenders did not take it with a smile, and they won the casualty count 4-0. Then we have the Norse Code Violations versus Lizard Skinnerd. Lizard spent $240K in inducements and still did not take the win. Final score was 3-1 in touchdowns and 2-1 in casualties, all favor of the Norse. Back to you.
All right. We have an official miracle on the turf. And that would be the Silly Gooses have taken a win over the Weight is Ogre. Another phenomenal matchup of small versus small with some big versus big. The Silly Gooses found the end zone 3 times, including a last-second run with Wuffy the Fox, capitalizing on a distracted Ogre just to slip right through that defense. 3-1 to the Silly Gooses. Congratulations on your first win of the season. We're looking forward to great things from you going forward.
That's right.
In other news, the prediction market has tanked on Silly Goose games. Then we have the Grail Knight grudge match of the Nighthawks, bringing it against Savage Joe's Gym. And while we always, on this broadcast, root for the dodgeball reference, we only do so through tiers this time, as the Nighthawks take the win 2-1, and the casualties 1-0. Now, as an interesting twist, the number of fans of the Nighthawks were unaffected by the outcome of the game, holding steady at 3 million fans. Not 2, not 4, and 5 was right out. Chuck?
Nice. All right, so we have the Nakahara Ni Capitators versus the Snot Trans, where Alex, proving he's still a formidable foe to mess with. Score was 2-0 and 4 casualties versus the Snotlings 2. Tomb Kings taking it out for the win. We got the 10 pounds of chaos and a 5-pound sack versus the 7-star Jules. Store Dan, 12th rank, also taking the victory 2-1 in touchdowns, but did lose the casualty count to the 7-star Jules. The last game to report about is the Skull Ranch Riders versus the Ramble Shamble Squad. Zach versus Mark. Korn took the lead, Blood for the Blood God. 2 touchdowns and 6 in the casualty count. It's going to be an interesting match coming up soon with the Korn. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's about time the Blood God was appeased by the Soul Ranch Rioters.
That's right.
I was starting to be concerned we were going to start referring to them as a standard human team after their last couple of outings. Well, Korn might have decided, maybe I'm not so cool with this anymore. So it's good to see them finally getting those casualty numbers where they belong, with, of course, our apologies to the team they're up against.
Yeah.
So now let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about what we're seeing coming up next week, what the big games are that we're going to be following, watching for some outcomes, and how that's going to shake out in the league. Let's kick it off. I think let's just kick off with the green elephant in the room.
Yep.
Which would be Green Legs and Wham, which is currently sitting at number 1 in the league, is facing off with the Gobby Horror Picture Show, currently sitting at 17.
Yep.
What are your first thoughts, Chuck?
Oh, my first thoughts, well, like we talked about off camera, I was looking up tips to give to the public on ways to beat orcs. There aren't any.
Well, I still personally remember my first interaction with a practice game against Andrew in the league, where he had brought an orc team, and I said, I just don't know how to break into that cage. And he looked at me and goes, neither do I.
Yeah.
So we do know the orcs and they're able to put the score up too. Last game with that
3 touchdowns.
Three
which
touchdowns
is
in that
outside
game.
of their norm.
Yeah, that's explosive. That's hard to get to the draw when you need to get 2 touchdowns and another one in a half and a follow-up half. So that does something. The thing is that I know we had predicted the downfall of Green Legs and Wham before, and we have been wrong before.
Correct, but now there's another angle.
But now we have another angle, which is we do know that the only touchdown scored against Green Legs and Wham this season has been a 1-turn touchdown by a stunty team. And let's be fair, the Gobby Horror Picture Show is bringing the kind of team
They can do that.
that can do that consistently.
And he's got the gumption to go for it.
Absolutely, he does. Josh is the kind of coach that will call the tough plays, he'll put them out there, and then have the wisdom to keep those players safe during the orc offense. I am hesitant to call this game for the Gobby Horror Picture Show, but I think if there's anyone that can do it before we hit the playoffs, it's going to be them.
Okay. So that's your cast?
It's my cast. What about you?
I can't. Can't do it. Craig and the Green Legs Wham are called that for a reason, and they're going to win this game too. But I am rooting for another touchdown or 2 for the Gobby Horror Picture Show, but the Orcs are not going to take it with a smile on their face.
Absolutely. So now let's take a second. Let's talk about another two top 10 teams. Number 6 Nighthawks are going to be squaring off with number 10, the Fungus City Cheats. And this is a game that I think is going to be very difficult to call because what we're looking at is 2 incredibly different play styles. We have the Bretonians with an aggressive bashing and passing game,
right,
going up against the Cheats, which are just known for moving the ball quickly and unconventionally. Well, unconventionally by most sports terms, I think by Goblin terms, handing the ball to an Agi 1 Doom Diver is kind of Goblin Convention 101.
Yeah, so it's like a repeat, right? Where I think the Nighthawks are going to set up a strong defense. Luke's a seasoned coach, he knows what he's doing. But the Fungus City Cheats are just not going to accept that and throw in a Agi 1 Doom Diver for a touchdown over and over again.
All right, so you're calling this?
Man, I think the Cheats are going to sneak it in. But Luke's going to put up one hell of a fight.
See, I have to disagree. I think the Nighthawks are bringing, with half their team coming with Dauntless, I think this might be one of the few games where the Cheats are in danger of losing their trolls.
Okay.
Because if there's any teams in position to just pile on the big guys and take away that 1-turn touchdowns, it's going to be a team like the Bretonian team. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to say that the Nighthawks are going to hold their place in the top 5 in the league with a win.
Okay. So Dauntless is going to be the key to that. I look forward to seeing that. There's so many stontlings you can throw at to get in their way. Maybe they don't get a chance to punch the troll.
It's entirely possible those goblins are going to get out there and gum it up. We'll have to see what happens. Now we have the Golden Shamrocks at number 7, squaring off with the Ragnarots at number 2. So another top 10 team matchup. Now the good news for both coaches is it's unlikely a loss here takes them out of the playoffs. But at the same time, it moves either coach that much closer to the top 5.
Right.
A win would put Josh in position to start to challenge Craig for top of the league, and a win for Eddie puts him in the running to make those challenges later in the season. What are you thinking about this game?
Well, like I said, told you, Eddie, we're watching you. We're watching what you're playing, the games and the moves you're making. I think this can put Eddie in the top 4 and get him up there. But I've watched Josh play in the Ragnarots, and he does not give easy game stats, no freebies over there. So Eddie and the Golden Shamrocks are going to have to earn it. But I'm going to go with the Ragnarots. I think Josh is number 2 for a reason. I think he's going to keep his lead. But I think the Golden Shamrocks are going to put up a fight.
I absolutely agree. I think the Shamrocks are going to come. They're going to get their blood. I also fully agree that the Ragnarok defensive coordinator has just been gifted this season at calling the plays necessary to control the field. And I'm going to say the same. I think this is going to be a win for the Ragnaroks. It's not going to be a blowout, folks. If you come to a Blood Bowl match to see people hit the end zone, spike the ball, and cheer, this is not the game to come to. But if you're coming to see what looks a lot more like a good, solid West Canadian hockey game played on a pitch,
Yeah, that's a great.
This will be the game.
Yes,
This will be the game.
It's going to be like a hockey game.
Yeah, I went to a fight at Joe Louis Arena as a teenager with my dad. He took me
Nice.
when they were having those fights at Joe Louis. And strangest thing, a hockey game broke out. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about our last matchup, which I think has potentially one of the more interesting matchups, which is the Elves versus the Central Cemetery Boneheads. I'm hesitant to bring the Elves into our predictions because we do know the coach is very active and has very strong opinions. But I think there are certain things that are going to make this an interesting matchup. The Elves are sitting at number 5 in the league. Having just come off win after win, an explosive win.
Yeah, it's a big win. 7 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Not messing around.
Now, in the middle of the league, the Central Cemetery Boneheads have also proven to be consistent spoilers on the pitch.
Yep. Oops, all guard.
Yes,
Oops, all guard.
definitely. Their head coach has really invested in guard training so that all of her players are consistently assisting each other. For a group of undead, it's an incredibly tight-knit team. I've also heard reporting that on Sundays after the matches, they get together at one of the mummies' homes to play Settlers of Catan as a team-building activity. So you got to respect that.
You got to respect
that.
I did talk to Coach Sarah, outside of the game before their game started, and I asked her about why does she value guard so highly? And she just states that it just makes the game easier and simpler. It's about throwing 2-die blocks and getting clean clusters, and she's really good at that.
Well, the 2-die block is like the gold standard to aim for.
Yeah.
3 can be incredibly challenging, but that 2-die block is consistent, and her record shows that.
Yep, she's going after consistency.
And as we've talked about, the real danger for the Elves, honestly, is in the injury area.
Right, because his TV bloat, the team value bloat. The Elves are number 1 in the league right now. He's not scared of it. He's coming out at full force. And
but the difference now, as far as the inducement system to balance that playing field, the Central Cemetery Boneheads are actively scouting for what star players to bring to this game. 1 or 2 of those star players could change the flavor of the game itself, which again puts a lot of pressure on the Elves. They lose a couple of those key players to an injury early in the game, and I think the game could very well put the Central Cemetery Boneheads in position to move up the rankings rapidly.
For sure. And then I'm getting reporting that there's Morgan Thor's name is on the roster now to possibly be on.
I saw his LinkedIn post about that. He is actively soliciting that recruitment. I think it's a mistake.
You think it's a mistake?
I posted on LinkedIn because you want to get picked up. I think he might be the right
Too
hire.
aggressive?
He might be the right hire, but I think he's overselling himself.
I mean, of all the people to be aggressive, Morgan
Thorpe is not exactly a shrinking wallflower. No, absolutely not. I'm going to put my money on the Boneheads for the upset.
I'm going to go with Paul and the Elves. Coach Paul is going to be consistent with his team, and I think they're going to get those 5 touchdowns. And Sarah and the Central Cemetery Boneheads are going to, I think, win the Cas count, but I don't think her team's capable of 5 touchdowns in the game, and we know Paul is. So I think I'm going to go with Paul.
All right, we'll have to see what happens. Do we have any thoughts as we are now at the midseason? So we are going to be taking a short break from broadcasting to let the summer break play out. Games are continuing. However, the standard scheduling is now being opened so that however we want to get those games played, as long as they get played in sequence, you don't get ahead of the players you're up against as far as what week you're on goes. But we are entering now that summer break.
Yep.
It's a chance to kind of stop, look at the league, see if there's any patterns we've seen emerge with the teams.
Then reevaluate where your personal team is at and where where your future training and planning is going as far as developing your own team.
Right.
You brought up a really great conversation off camera, and it was about that a win and a loss is better than 2 ties.
Absolutely. A win is 3 points in the league, a loss being 0, but ties are only 1. So if you play for ties, you are setting yourself up to be behind the person who plays for the win half of the time. So if you can win every other game, losing every other game puts you ahead of someone who just ties across the board, which I think is one of those things that we sleep on as to the importance of taking the risk to go for that extra touchdown.
Do you think that applies even to the bash teams that are getting 3 SPP per bash instead of just 2?
Well, it really comes down to if the players that are in the top 10 in the league right now, guaranteed playoff seeds, I would not be as concerned about. But for the teams that are duking out in the bottom half of the league right now, they're all aiming to hit that 10 through 16th seed into the playoffs. You need the wins.
You think it's all the way to 10th? I think we're honestly 6 through 16. There's 10 spots that are really like strongly up for grabs.
Oh yeah, quite possibly. And that's the other thing to bear in mind is that at this stage, no one is out of the playoffs.
Absolutely. There's still 8 games to go, 3 wins per game. That's 24 points you can add to your score, and that's a huge deal.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, 21 points is more points than anyone has scored yet total at this stage in the league.
Yep.
So now, granted, some of that comes down to other teams losing and moving down the standings, but it is still anyone's game, and especially looking into those last third of the seeds for the playoffs at the least, if not the last half, it is anyone's game.
Oh, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where the teams are developed and at post summer break.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side, I also think the top 5 teams are pretty much locked into the playoffs. A lot has to go wrong for them to not make that first round, which is not to say that first round of the playoffs is itself going to be easy. Going into the playoffs as even a third seed, you could still face that first round upset.
For sure. And then I don't know if it's locked in per se, because as you've noticed, like I will pick on Paul and the Elves, that he does have a loss, but if you notice, as his team developed, he got stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yes, absolutely. There is a bit of a steamroller effect of some of these teams as they continue to grow and stay healthy.
Right.
I think Andy is a great cautionary tale in what can happen with a bad game where you find yourself spending a few weeks rebuilding your team after that. Yep. And we'll have to see what happens when we start in the second half of the season, because that is where a bad game can put you in a position to really struggle to make those playoffs.
For sure.
All right. That said, I think it's been an exciting league so far. Thank you for coming out with us every week and hanging out, listening to us banter on. We'll see you all in September. Until then, my name is Rob, a.k.a. Lantern Noir.
My name's Chuck Norrisman.
We'll see you next time.